Welcome to the Tyler Werner Show. Officially, the Flyers have been eliminated from the playoffs in the NHL. You know, not that comes as any shock. Although, you know, they put up, I guess for what it's worth, they put up a little bit of a fight there the last few games. You know, after losing 6-1 Game 3 and everything looking pretty much over. I mean, after that game, last week, I just came out pretty much with playing Tap's funeral on the trumpet and basically calling it a series. But, you know, nevertheless, I mean, the Flyers, they can't, you know, they put together two, well, I guess you could say solid games. I mean, I was watching Saturday nights, and again, this kind of goes back to the whole thing with putting Michael Neuvirth in. Maybe they could have put him in before that 6-1 loss, but nevertheless, they put Michael Neuvirth in, and you saw lower scoring games with the Washington Capitals, at least, well, less scoring out of the Capitals. And Neuvirth was on fire on Saturday night. I mean, he turned aside, 45 shots or so, while the Flyers, I don't even think they had 20 shots all game. And, you know, it looked like Washington was owning the game the other night. Flyers in another elimination situation, but Michael Neuvirth was, you know, on fire. And unfortunately, yesterday afternoon, the Flyers couldn't muster up any offense. They couldn't score yet again. All series long, they couldn't score more than two goals, essentially. And that second one, Saturday night, was an empty netter. So, really, I mean, that tells me you need more offensive firepower. That's pretty much the moral of the story.
I agree.
And again, I mean, Mason, he had a weak couple of games there earlier in the series, which kind of made it imperative that he get benched. And certainly they brought out Neuvirth, and that helped him out a bit. But ultimately, not enough offensive firepower. Claude Giroux was not very helpful this series to kind of help you. One out of your captain, Wayne Simmons, although, you know, he scored 30 goals this year. He was the leading scorer. That's nothing to write home about in comparison to other teams and their leading scorers. And not to mention, he takes too many stupid penalties, just like this team throughout this series kind of has in general as well. Can't take too many stupid penalties. Jake Voracek, you know, many would consider he had a disappointing season after showing promise last season. And just offensively, they just don't have enough. And that was quite evident this series. When you're talking about a team with goal scorers like Ovechkin and TJ Oshie, amongst other guys on this team, on this Washington team, and a goaltender who has been very solid, you know, it just went to show you. It's kind of a litmus test series for the Flyers. But hey, they took it to 6 games. It's not, you know, not like they were impressive or anything, but Washington had an easy chance to end this game 4, and the Flyers, they put up a fight for 2 more games, and but ultimately it wasn't enough, and the Flyers have been eliminated, and it's basically on to next season for the Philadelphia Flyers. But then again, nevertheless, a lot of series that ended in 4-1s, and it just you know, a lot of 4-1 series in this early going in the NHL playoffs. So we'll see how things continue to shape up with that, as well as NBA playoff action as well, which obviously doesn't include the Sixers. But anyhow, we have bigger fish to fry right now, because we got the NFL draft coming this week, and I feel like the NFL draft, has pretty much, from the Eagles front, we pretty much know everything. We don't I think that's kind of the bottom line here. The Eagles, they traded up with the Cleveland Browns for the number 2 pick in the 2016 NFL draft, which is where they're expected to draft quarterback Carson Wentz, who Jared Goff is expected to be selected by the Rams, even though most people see Wentz as a superior quarterback. It is heavily expected that the Rams at pick number 1 are going to take quarterback Jared Goff, and the Eagles at pick number 2 take Carson Wentz. Who, now, again, I've continued to... It's only in recent months where this whole Carson Wentz cult following, or I don't know how to explain it, has come out. When he, out of North Dakota, and facing off against 1AA competition, pretty much. Now, that's not to say that he can't be a great quarterback in the NFL, but there's a rare track record of a guy who was against 1AA competition coming in the NFL and being a great quarterback. That's all I'm going to say. It's kind of like playing odds here, but nevertheless, many people have been high on Carson Wentz, and it's just going to be interesting to see how he can translate to the NFL, I guess, perhaps, and I don't know. I'm not very... And again, it's only in, like, recent... It's like the Eagles... It's like they're going with this flow to get behind... of getting behind Carson Wentz, and they're... I guess, they're supposed to be the smart ones here, and yada yada, and they feel as if this is their franchise quarterback for the future. It's obvious. First of all, they traded from 13 to 8, and now they traded from 8 to 2. What they weren't really, now they were further back in the draft last year, but nevertheless, they weren't able to do with Chip Kelly and the whole Marcus Mariota thing, and that didn't happen, obviously. But here, Howie Roseman, Doug Peterson, Jeffrey Lurie, going to throw them in there as well. They were more than happy to go up to the number 2 pick.
You got to open your heart.
And I don't know if I'm ready to open my heart, to be honest with you, Jeff. But I don't know if I'm ready to open my heart yet when, in exchange for this second pick, the Eagles have sent, well, obviously their number 8 pick to the Cleveland Browns, moving up. They sent their 3rd and 4th round pick. By the way, I believe they don't have a 2nd round pick in light of their trade last year with Nick Foles and Sam Bradford. But so they sent their 3rd and 4th round pick over to the Browns, and they sent their 2017, their 1st round pick next year, and a 2018 2nd round pick to the Cleveland Browns. And they acquired a 4th round pick from the Cleveland Browns for next year. So, all right, did you get all that? Their 1st round pick this year, their 3rd round pick, and their 4th round pick this year. 2017's 1st round pick, 2018 2nd round pick, shipped over to the Cleveland Browns, and the Eagles acquire a 4th round pick next year. I hope he's the guy. I don't know. I guess that's all we can say, because I just don't know. And here's where the mess obviously comes in, and where I just scratch my head. Obviously, Sam Bradford last week after this happened was reportedly, quote, hot, and as of today is demanding a trade from the Philadelphia Eagles. And quite frankly, I don't blame him, because he was signed to basically kind of this franchise kind of quarterback deal, like not entirely, but pretty much so. It was kind of like a 2-year deal is kind of what he was given. And it was kind of evident at that time, Sam Bradford's the guy. He's our starter for next year, is basically what the Eagles organization was saying. And I remember Doug Peterson a few months was saying, at the end of the day, and I talked about it here on the show, at the end of the day, we will have the best quarterback here for this franchise. All right. And then they I guess, signed the guy who's to be backup. They traded Mark Sanchez. They signed Chase Daniel for $6 million. More. Obviously, that was more than Mark Sanchez.
I just think somebody owes us an explanation, that's all.
And then here, they trade up to obviously draft a quarterback at pick number 2, who theoretically, you draft a quarterback at pick number 2, you move up to get him, and theoretically, he should be your starting quarterback for the upcoming season.
Well, somebody better explain, or there'll be a lot of explaining to do.
All right? I mean, last year, does that not make any sense? I mean, Jameis Winston taking a pick number 1? Why? To start for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Marcus Mariota, pick number 2. Starter for the Tennessee Titans. But you pick somebody at that point in the draft, RG3 a few years ago, Andrew Luck. When you pick the guy at that point, you pick him to start. So now, again, now that the Eagles have done that, and now that Sam Bradford was signed to this big deal, now what? Because you have a guy, if you have a guy who's paid that much to, be your starting, that's a starting quarterback salary. That's like a franchise quarterback salary almost, in a sense. You're paying him that much, and then you're moving up to number 2 to get a guy. You get a guy number 2. That's not to be the backup. That's for sure. And it's not, let alone third stringer, because Chase Daniel, $6 million. That's more than most backup quarterbacks in this league. So, I just don't. So, Sam Bradford, he demands a trade, and rightfully so. I mean, but then again, he's got this big deal, and I guess, I don't know who trades for him, but this is from ESPN just minutes ago. The Eagles have been informed that quarterback Sam Bradford wants to be traded and will not be showing up to their offseason program any longer. A source, oh my, look at this. He's boycott. I mean, again, I can kind of see why, but nevertheless, the Eagles have a bit of a mess here on their hands. Bradford is upset at the Eagles' trade last week for the number 2 pick to draft a quarterback. Bradford, who re-signed with the Eagles earlier this offseason, is, quote, mad and wants to show everyone who's best, a source told Schefter last week. And look, I know, and I've been seeing, comments, and people, Eagle fans, oh, what has Sam Bradford ever done anyways, and oh, yada, yada, and well, dude, at the end of the day, he's the most experienced and qualified guy. For the most part, he stayed healthy last week behind a ravaged offensive line with no receivers. And given the circumstances, and not much of a running game, too. And given the circumstances, he did fairly well. All right? That's all I'll say. Was last year, Carson Wentz, I mean, I'm just wondering, I don't know, what else? I mean, Bradford has his limitations, as well as Chip Kelly certainly did. But...
Was that like a wise-ass comment?
But you get the idea here. The idea here is that the Eagles are building and they're improving these other positions, and that Bradford should be able to take advantage. I don't know, but Bradford has every right to be mad about this because he got paid. He basically was told he was paid as such that he's going to be the starting quarterback this season. Now the Eagles acquired number 2 pick from the Browns via blockbuster trade. Executive Vice President of Football Operations, since I guess that's what Jeffrey Lurie has opened his heart up to say.
You got to open your heart.
Rather than general manager. Howie Roseman said that the Eagles had been trying to move up ever since January. Acknowledged that the team intends to take a quarterback with the number 2 pick. And by the way, without question, there was audio last week, a little press conference that it was mainly Howie Roseman, a little bit of Doug Peterson. I don't know if there's audio out there somewhere of it, but Howie Roseman said, like when asked if you're taking, yes, not a maybe or anything. Yes, we are taking a quarterback. In case anybody has some kind of mysterious doubt about this. All right, so yeah, the Rams already acquired the top overall pick from Tennessee for a slew of picks and indicated that they will take a quarterback. Yeah, we went over this already. Bradford, 28, started 14 games last season. After the Eagles acquired him in an offseason trade with it, the Eagles went 7-7 in his starts. He completed 65% of his passes throwing for yada yada. Okay, that's it. All right. So basically as far as any new, it just basically says he's mad. And it's kind of nothing new here. All right. So there you go. But again, not surprised by any of this. So Bradford, he has every right to be mad, hot over this, whatever. And it's kind of a mess. Maybe not kind of, it is a mess. And look, it's not to knock on Carson. It's just, it's just a giant question mark right now. And it's just one of these things, you better be right at the end of the day. This better be the guy. I mean, that's all I can really say right now. Because, all right, looking at the Eagles now, the following pick in this year's draft. They get Wentz at number 2. Third round, they have their from a Detroit trade. They have a third round pick, 79 overall. 2 5th rounders, a 6th round, and 2 7th rounders. One from the Matt Barkley trade. All right, so really here, for the most part, what we're later round picks. They got 5th, 7th round. They got 5 picks, and I hate to say it, but they haven't been Seattle when it comes to late round draft. They haven't hit on a Richard Sherman or a Cam Chancellor later in these later rounds or anything like that, like some of these other organizations have been capable of doing. I mean, when you pick high picks, first of all, I mean, the Carson Wentz thing is one thing. He better be the franchise quarterback if you're getting him at number 2 for years to come. He better be, quote unquote, the guy. That's one thing in of itself. 2, can you find these diamonds in the rough like these other organizations in later rounds of the draft? Unfortunately, the Eagles, they haven't really done that in recent years. Whether it was since again, so there's some controversy over this, over who picked what and who had what say over what. But over recent years, whether it was Chip Kelly pick or whether it was Howie Roseman or Andy Reid, whoever it was, Tom Gamble, I don't know when it comes to these picks, but they never really hit on anybody in these later rounds. They didn't pick up on any studs, if I could use that word. So we'll see. But I mean, this draft, at this point as far as Eagles, it's kind of, I don't know. They're gonna it's kind of already been spoiled, I guess. I mean, Carson Wentz, number 2. I mean, 3rd round pick. Okay, see what they get there. 5th round, 2 5th rounds, 6. Basically no name guys that hopefully, since they're the talent evaluators, they're the NFL, they're the experts, they're the guys that are supposed to find the best players they can, fill positions of need. I guess it remains to be seen. But again, hopefully Wentz is worth it. Hopefully he's the guy. Because if not, I mean, they're a little bit hamstringed as far as finding other positions that they can fill, not just this, but next year's draft as well. So we'll see. Not to mention, looks like apparently, since this, I just don't. Why Roger Goodell still commissioner of this NFL? I just, But anyhow, looks like Tom Brady's 4-game suspension has been reinstated. Yeah. Yep, here we go again, ladies and gentlemen. Since I guess apparently, I guess Goodell found a judge or something that can, that I guess agrees that, you know what, a 4-game suspension for this was right. Even though at the time, there was no such thing about a 4-game suspension. And I think that's what, as far as this whole Deflategate thing, and that's not even what the argument here is with the judge. It's whether or not a 4-game suspension. He to boil it down, since apparently it's a big deal, ladies and gentlemen. Roger Goodell, he's still going after this whole thing. He still insists that Tom Brady serves a 4-game suspension at some point. So basically, it was that the judge for this decision, U.S. District Judge Richard Berman, we hold that the commissioner properly exercised his broad discretion under the collective bargaining agreement, that his procedural rulings were properly grounded in that agreement and did not deprive Brady of fundamental fairness. Accordingly, we reverse the judgment of the district court and remand with instructions to confirm the award. And it's just, again, it just boggles my mind, because what brought up the controversy in the first place of this suspension, well, number one, is that Roger Goodell, he kind of just pulled it out of nowhere. A 4-game. There was a $25,000 fine ordeal that was for underinflated footballs. And Goodell said, no, it was 4-game suspension. And that's where the whole unfairness and controversy came in, and where Brady had every right to not just sit there and take it, but to fight this whole 4-game suspension nonsense.
To me, those balls are perfect.
So, and again, not to mention, the whole policy was flawed in the first place when it came to monitoring football measurements of PSIs and yada yada, and allowing teams to inflate or deflate footballs as they saw fit, and whether footballs, lose air pressure and whatnot, how that happens, I don't know. A lot of gray area, for one thing. And sure enough, when footballs were apparently then reinflated more so during halftime of that Colts-Patriots AFC Championship game, I guess unbeknownst to Tom Brady, the balls had more air in them than they did in the first half, and that's when the Patriots kind of just cleaned the clocks of the Colts that game, if I remember correctly. So I don't know. But nevertheless, ladies and gentlemen, Roger Goodell is still steadfast in getting Tom Brady to serve a 4-game suspension at some point. while he's failed at other things during his tenure as general manager, i.e. the Ray Rice situation and unnecessary rule changes and, oh, hey, we're going to move the extra point back to the, make it a 35-yard field goal or whatever instead of a, oh, good. Oh, great. Great job. What a great change to the game. I just don't get it. But anyhow, Tom Brady, he may appeal this again as well. I'm sure the Patriots, would love Tom Brady would love to not lose Tom Brady for their first 4 games. And just for the record, their first 4 games, they would start out with who would they start out with? A home game against the Cardinals. Yeah, they face the Cardinals. No, they on the road would be their first game on Sunday Night Football to open the season. And then they'd have 3 straight home games, the Dolphins, the Texans, and the Bills. Hypothetically, if Brady is suspended, those would be the games that he would be missing. But then again, I don't know, would it have a reverse effect if Brady was to serve a suspension, that then when he comes back, those first 4 games, the team playing hard, and then lo and behold, game 5, here comes Tom Brady, and would it light a fire in the? I don't know, under the Patriots, but anyhow, since here we go again, another spring day here with more controversy with Deflategate and yada yada. It hasn't gone away yet, ladies and gentlemen. And that's thanks to your commissioner, Roger Goodell. It's all thanks to Roger Goodell. It could have been, this was kind of water under the bridge. Once Tom Brady's suspension was reversed, that whole thing, Brady won his appeal as he should have. And no, I guess Goodell found a judge or whatever that I guess is in favor of this whole. Well, Roger Goodell, he had the discretion, I guess, to we can rule in favor of that he had the discretion and yada yada. Yeah, all right. So, hey, I wasn't asking for the return of any Deflategate things, ladies, but I could very well see Tom Brady once again taken to the courts to basically appeal this decision. Rightfully so, because I don't think he... Yeah. 4-game suspension for what? Come on.
I'm not going to tolerate your crap today.
It's all water under the bridge to me at this point, as I would have thought it would have been earlier, but it's not, ladies and gentlemen. It's not. So, all right, we got the NFL draft just a couple days away, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, it should be quite exciting. We already know what the Eagles are going to do. And then they got their they got a 3rd-round pick, and then they got later on, and a lot of those picks, obviously, we don't know how they're going to really pan out to be. That's just one of those things we just have to wait and see. So, that's pretty much it, ladies and gentlemen. Don't really need to do a big monster mock draft preview because the Eagles are at pick number 2, and they're going to take a quarterback. So, in round 2, they don't have anything. After that, in round 1, they don't have anything. So that's basically just, let's just wait and see. Basically 3rd-round pick and beyond in the draft. So with that in mind, thanks for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen, to the Tyler Werner Show. We'll talk to you next time right here as always. Stay tuned. What defines the perfect ball? It's not just about size when it comes to Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs.
I've handled dozens of balls over the past week. We prepare our balls over time. The texture of the balls is very easy to identify.
And that slow-cooked texture is one of the qualities that make Brady and Belichick's meatballs stand above the rest. But it's also Brady's unique rubbing process that only he has the authority to perform.
When I pick those footballs out, to me, they're perfect. I don't want anyone touching the balls after that. I don't want anyone rubbing them. To me, those balls are perfect.
Once the balls reached an equilibrium, we're down to the rubbing process.
Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs. When you're looking to make it a pasta night, or doing a little catering. Like Brady would say, to me, those balls are perfect.
It's no big news flash that many people, you included, eat as a way to medicate themselves. You can choose to worry about it, or not. You can choose to panic about your situation, or not. It's clear what you must do in order to make important changes.
5 letters here. RELAX. Relax. We're going to be okay.
In order for you ever to effectively figure out and map how to get to where you want to go, you have to first know exactly where you are starting. RELAX. Relax. You have to be willing to change what you're doing. You can change your behavior.
What is it about good sex that makes me have to crap? Guess it's all that pumping. Pump and dump.
Pump and dump. Never stop the pumping. Always keep her satisfied. Pump and dump.
You really jarred something loose, Tiger.